Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Tuesday morning Mortgage Coach Call, the industry's best sales meeting, every Tuesday, 9 o'clock Pacific. My name is Dave Savage, and everybody on the Mortgage Coach team, from our support team to our sales team to our product team to our leadership team, we are dedicated to your personal and your professional success. That's why we do these calls. So we announced a really awesome product at Sales Mastery last week. Many of you have already downloaded it. I am going to talk about this towards the tail end of the call. So from 9:45 on, I'm going to get into a little more detail on it, but something very exciting. It just reaffirms how committed we are to helping you be experts in the marketplace. So Sales Mastery was fantastic. It was great to see so many Mortgage Coach friends last week. Again, fantastic event, well executed, great leaders, great content. And as I reflected, what was my favorite presentation? Who was my favorite speaker? And I just kept coming with Hal and his message around the miracle morning, a lot of the content he brought from stage, his personal story, this quote from Jim Rohn: "Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development, because success is something you attract by becoming the person you become." Incredible quote. You know, I put that in my Instagram. I pushed that out to the Mortgage Coach community. And I also think it's just a great call to set up today's guest, because Tim's going to talk about how to become your best authentic self. So Tim Braheem, it's good to have you in the Mortgage Coach community once again to bring your leadership and your wisdom. It's good to have you, brother.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me. As always, I'm happy to be back. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, it's good to always have you in here. So for those of you that know Tim Braheem and you've been on these calls before, I mean, he's a legendary top performing loan officer. He was the founder of Loan Toolbox, which became a tremendous body of content and work that drove a lot of success for loan officers. As a leader in the Mortgage Coach community, he has evangelized the power of why. As a friend and mentor of mine, every time I talk to him, it all comes down to your why. So everybody who comes to our calls, you know how passionate I am around why are you a mortgage coach? What is your value proposition? How do we help you, have a deeper why and have a better value prop? Tim has also, in past coaching calls, talked about what he calls the genius grid. And when Tim and I were planning on this call, I asked him, what do you think loan officers today need to hear? What do you want to bring to the Mortgage Coach community? He really wanted to go deeper and dedicate an entire call to his philosophy around, finding your genius, and being the best who you can be. So Tim, I'm gonna, let you take it from here. I'll drive your slides. I'll either try to anticipate where you want me to move them, and if I'm not where you want me, push me around. And one last thing before you start sharing, for anybody who hasn't heard you before, just give us a 1 or 2 minute Tim Braheem story, and then help us uncover our genius.
All right, thanks, Dave. I'll let you know. We have just a few slides, so I'll let you know when I need it to be changed. That tee up was kind of you, and I don't know. I mean, I was a loan officer for 15 years and was real lucky to have some great mentors to follow early in my career. And I consider myself to be, a good implementer, and and have had the good fortune of modeling or having others that I can model that really led me down the right path, and was lucky enough to have several years where I did, in excess of 150 million in production. One year I actually did about 235 million in production, and then went off and started to really, become a teacher within the industry. And as a result of being a teacher, was able to really study loan officers. I mean, at our peak, Loan Toolbox had 10,800 loan officers that were looking to myself and my faculty to coach them. And now I've scaled way down, and I go much deeper with much fewer people. I mean, I coach privately, and then I have my Leadership 360 program. And the thing that it always comes back to, Dave, like I continue to be reminded of how important time management is. And You know, there was a time back in 2006 where I did this presentation on time management for 90 minutes at our business planning event in Las Vegas, and it was modeled after David Allen's Getting Things Done book, and David had coached me in time management, so I delivered what I considered to be a really good presentation. It was definitely one of the better teaching presentations that I thought that I had ever delivered. I was real proud of the value that it brought. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that that presentation that is actually hosted on my Performance Experts website, by the way. If you want to go check it out, it's www.performance-experts.com, and you can go download that presentation. It's a great tactical presentation on time management, but as I've gotten older, Dave, I've come to realize that time management is a much broader subject matter than just the tactical. In fact, I consider the tactical, whether it be you using Evernote or a Franklin Covey organizer or OmniFocus or your task features in Outlook, which is what my presentation back 8 years ago was about. I consider that to be about 20% of the equation, and I consider the other 80% to be a much bigger issue. And what makes it such a large issue, Dave, is and what makes time management so difficult is time management is driven almost entirely on our humanness. So the worries, the fears, and the beliefs that we're holding within our consciousness that have us making choices with what to do with our time. Because see, at the end of the day, time management is really about task management. It's about choice management. And I want to say that again. Time management is about choice management. I mean, we all have the same amount of hours in the day, and the highly effective people, those that are extremely successful, when you analyze their day, you realize that they are consciously making choices as to what they do with their time that are driving their success. And those that are struggling are making choices that are retarding or inhibiting their success. So time management, first and foremost, is about choice management. And many of us are getting better and better at doing the wrong things. It's about being aware of the things that we're doing on a daily basis. And it's about really understanding that first and having that awareness around, like, what are my hell yeses? What are the things that I should be saying yes to consistently because of the ROI that I'm getting and the quality of life that I'm getting? And what are my hell no's? What are the things that I absolutely cannot afford to continue to do, that are my blind spots, if you will? And what I find, Dave, is that successful people are saying hell yes to their hell yeses, those items that they have an option to choose to do on a daily basis consistently, and unsuccessful people are saying hell yes to their hell no's. So they're continually committing to doing things that are not ultimately serving them and are not getting them to the next level. Well, why do we do that? Well, a lot of it's based upon fear. A lot of it's based on misunderstanding. And even more of it is based upon a lack of awareness. Just really not even having an understanding, never having really taken the opportunity to sit down and do an inventory on all of the things that come up in their day and understand what they're choosing into, what they're opting into that's not serving them. And we work with, in the Leadership 360 program, we spent the entire first day in Costa Rica on the subject matter of time management, because I believe it's impossible to build a really great business and life plan, which is what we do down there. It's impossible to build a great business and life plan if you don't first have an understanding of what your hell yeses and your hell no's are. Otherwise, you're going to be populating your business and life plan with a lot of stuff that shouldn't be in there. So getting really clear and synthesizing that's really important. So what we've done is we've developed an entire teaching model around that. So if you don't mind, please, we'll go to the next slide, and we can kind of take a look at that model, okay? So let me explain what this model looks like. And, Dave, I'm going to kind of go through it slowly, and if you want to chime in with any questions, feel free to. But this is what we call the genius grid, okay? And it's divided into 4 quadrants. The bottom right-hand quadrant is the zone of incompetence. The bottom left-hand quadrant is the zone of competence. The top left is the zone of excellence, and the top right is the zone of genius. So let's take a little deeper look at each of these individually. So the zone of incompetence is exactly what it states. It's the things that you are choosing to do on a daily basis that you are incompetent at. What does that mean, you're incompetent? It means that you're miserable when you're doing it, first and foremost. Pardon the expression, but these are the things that you truly suck at. I mean, you're not good at them. The results of your effort are poor. And I'm going to give you some examples in a moment as to how that kind of plays out in my life, just to kind of bring this into the specifics. It is low ROI. So we know what ROI is, the return on investment of our time. So the incompetence items that you're doing every day are not paying you what you should be making on an hourly basis given your job description. And they are low ROE. Now, what is ROE? ROE is as my dear friend James Price has put it, and he was my coach at one time as well, is return on energy, okay? And this is the part that nobody ever measures, and frankly, it's the critical piece. So when we look at this grid for a minute, you notice there's a line that splits it, the top from the bottom, and it has an E associated with it, and that's the energy line. So the stuff in these bottom 2 boxes are below the line energetically, as we refer to it when we coach this for our full year together in Leadership 360. We're constantly looking at where are you at energetically right now when you're doing that activity. So imagine that you wake up in the morning, Dave, and you've got 100 energy chips. And the goal by the end of the day, if we're playing this little game, is that at the end of the day when you hit the pillow, you've got some energy chips left over. You're going to bed and you're not wiped out and you're not drained. Well, the unfortunate fact is that most people, because of where they're choosing to spend their time, they're hemorrhaging energy chips. So they're burning up energy chips very rapidly. They're choosing to do things in their day. And if you think about this, folks, what are the things that you're doing every day that really are a grind for you? I mean, it just really, really suck you of your wind and your energy. And by midday, you're just wiped out. You're like, God, man, this is just a drag. And then what we do is we resort to jacking ourselves up on coffee and sugar in the afternoon so we can just get through the day. Okay, and then we come home from work and it's 5:30, 6 o'clock, maybe 8 o'clock, who knows, and we've got to wind ourselves down because we had to jack ourselves up all day on stimulation. So then we knock down a couple of glasses of wine or cocktail or whatever just so we could be able to go to sleep. And this becomes kind of the pattern for a lot of people where they're spiking themselves and they're crashing themselves, and it's because of where they're choosing to spend their time. Okay, and then we're constantly running at a deficit. So it's like when you burn up all your energy chips today, then you have to start borrowing from tomorrow. And that's where people start to really feel wiped out and look a little bit older than they should be looking and all of that because they're constantly engaging in activities that are not really serving the fueling of the energetic being that they are. So back to this incompetence box. The time element of it, Dave, is that time moves slow. So what I mean by that is that when you're in your zone of incompetence and you're doing things that you're not competent at, that are low ROI and low ROE, the experience kind of looks something like this. You spend an hour on it and it feels like it was 3 hours. And I think we all know that feeling. It's just like, oh man, this is just not fun. And ultimately at the end of the day, you're miserable. So when we move over to the bottom left-hand box, we have the zone of competence. And this is the seductive box. This is the one that when we put people through the proprietary process that we've created on that first day of our Leadership 360 retreat, that first full day, we're kind of synthesizing out and inventorying everything that you do through a process that we put you through. And then we find that this box is the one that's most full. The one that most people are spending a significant amount of time in is their zone of competence. And the reason that so many people are in that box consistently throughout their day is because of the seductive nature of that box. See, the very nature of it is you're competent at it. you're good at it. I mean, you do a decent job. You get a result that is favorable. It's kind of the proverbial thing that most of us have experienced where it's like, I might as well do this myself if I want it to be done right. So you're continually engaging in these activities on a daily basis that you're getting a favorable enough result to where people are thanking you and they're complimenting you. Hey, great job. Thank you for doing that for me. And that's what keeps you doing it. It keeps you locked in to those activities. But the reality of it, when we take a deeper look at it, is that these activities are ones that really ultimately are holding us back from what we really want to have in our business and in our life. So let's take a quick peek at what the box says. So the results are good. As I said, it's very seductive because you get the attaboy, you get the pat on the rear end, you get the thank you, which all of us want. And the result is that they are low ROE, meaning the return on energy is not favorable. We're not getting a favorable return on our energy. In other words, at the end of the day, when we're done doing this activity, our energy is still low. It still feels like time is moving very slowly. And the return on investment of time is neutral to low. So an example of that would be this. Perhaps you don't particularly love taking 1003s in your business, but you feel like you need to do it because at the end of the day, the client thanks you and tells you, great job, I really appreciate it. And you kind of buy into this story that you need to spend an hour and a half meeting with the client and taking a loan application. But the reality of it is that when you're done, you're stressed out because you've fallen behind in your daily routine, your daily activities, and it creates a tremendous drain on your energy because it requires you having to fill out paperwork and go over disclosures, work up a good faith, all those types of things that you really ultimately don't want to be doing. Okay, so we really want to be mindful of how much time we're spending in our zone of competence. Before I move above the line energetically to the zone of excellence and the zone of genius, Dave, I want you to want to take a quick pause and ask you, are there any questions that you have or any comments?
So first of all, I've already taken several notes myself. You know, you always have such a way of saying things, Tim. So, you know, one of the quotes I love that I'll be thinking about after this call is how you kicked off the call. You said, time management is all about choice management. It's such a truth in life. So I guess what I would ask is, anybody on this call, if Tim has said something so far that's really connected with you, share that with the mortgage coach community. You can either put that in the chat area like I did with that quote, or share it in questions. I want to know what you guys are pulling out of this and what you're gaining from what Tim is sharing. But no, Tim, you're crushing it. Keep going. I would just love to get a little more feedback from the community. And if we do have some time for questions for Tim, I'd like to know what those questions would be. So please put those in the GoToMeeting question section if you have questions for Tim. Keep rocking, brother.
Okay, thank you. So quick summary. I'm gonna sum it up in a little different way for everybody to really hear, and I want to hammer this home. We are all energetic beings. Every one of us wakes up every day with a certain amount of energy at our disposal. Time management is choice management. It's about getting clear on your hell yeses and your hell nos. Too many of us are saying hell yes to our hell nos. We need to first get very clear on what our hell yeses and our hell nos are, and then start making intelligent choices as to where we spend our time, not just from a perspective of ROI, return on the investment of time, from a monetary perspective, but ROE, a return on our energy, because our health and our happiness and our joy are entirely dependent upon it. Too many of you are making really good money but are unhappy. What would it look like if you were making really good money and you had a big smile on your face all the time because the things you were choosing into every day were things that really brought you up and lifted you up? So let's take a look at how that would look. Let's go above the line energetically. Zone of excellence. Time equals reality. Meaning I spend an hour on an activity and it feels like an hour. It's relatively graceful, actually, when I'm in my zone of excellence. When I'm doing the tasks that are in my excellence box, it's not a grind. In fact, if I spent most of my life in my zone of excellence, it would be a really happy life. And me personally, I'm constantly putting myself through the exercise that we put our clients through and constantly reevaluating where I'm choosing to spend my time, and more of my time is getting spent doing exactly what I'm doing right now on this call. This is for sure in my excellence box, probably in my genius zone, which we'll get to in a minute. And the more that I'm doing stuff like this, the happier I am. So I'm really getting clear on where I'm choosing to opt in. Okay, the results when your excellence box are very strong. You're truly excellent at these activities. There are 3 or 4 things in all likelihood that you are outstanding at. Okay, and if you were spending more of your time doing those things every day, not only would you be making more money as a result of the strong results, you would have the high ROI, as it says in this box. You would also have a relatively neutral to high ROE. And what I mean by neutral is this. Okay, I'm not burning energy chips when I'm in the activity, and I'm not necessarily gaining any. It's just neutral. Okay, and again, if you wake up with 100 and you're not spending time in, below the line, you're spending time in your excellence box, you're not burning energy chips rapidly, you're going to finish the day in a pretty good mood. You're going to be able to walk in the front door, you're going to be able to be present with your family, you're going to be able to have a nice restful night of sleep because you're not going to be stressed out and wiped out. Let's move to the top right-hand box, and then we'll go through some specific examples. The top right-hand box is your genius zone, and this is the place that we all want to strive to get to. Again, it starts with getting really clear on what your genius is. Everybody that's in the Leadership 362 group, which has 10 people in it, and they're getting ready to graduate. They've been together for 11 months now. John Weller is an example who's been in this forum. He's in that group. At the last 3-day retreat we did here at my house in Los Angeles, we were really getting granular and synthesizing what the true genius is of every individual. And that's a real nice thing to be able to see, especially when a group's been together for a year. We're able to reflect to each other the genius that we see in the other person to really help them get super clear on that. So the characteristics of the genius zone are as follows. Time often stands still. Or another way of looking at it is this. You spend 3 hours on an activity and it felt like a half hour. When it was done, you were like, wow, like I can't believe that, that was 3 hours. I mean, that's when you know you're in the zone, okay? Like an athlete puts it. When they interview Kobe Bryant after he hits 8 3-pointers in the fourth quarter, and they say, hey, what were you thinking when you were on that roll? And he goes, I don't know, man, I was just in a zone. Yeah, he was in his genius zone. He was doing what he was put on this planet to do and what he is truly gifted at, and time really stands still when you're in that space. It is your true gift. And when you're in it, you experience joy. And the result of it is high ROI and high ROE. So when you're doing it, you're making good money because people are always going to be willing to pay for your gift. And instead of burning energy chips, you actually gain energy chips. So at the end of the day, you actually get energy chips put into your bucket that you're carrying around with you. And by the end of the day, you're feeling much more alive than you were before you started the day. Please switch to the next slide, Dave. So here are a few examples from my inventory list of putting myself through the same process that we put the L360 group through. So incompetence. For me, learning to use a computer program. I am terrible at it. It requires an enormous amount of patience. I feel agitated, fidgety. The result will be very poor. Time goes by very, very slow. Putting together my kids' toys on Christmas morning when they were younger. I'm terrible at it. If they had a bike that I needed to put together, it would be put together wrong. It requires me to be patient and read through a lot of detailed instructions. It's not in my wheelhouse. I feel miserable at the end of that experience. I'm much better off when I know that I'm going to have to do something like that, offloading that to somebody else who's far better and far superior at it than I am. Reading instructions as I referenced. Now, before I continue to the zone of competence, let me make a point here. Now we're going to get into the subject matter of team building for a minute and hiring. So imagine this for a moment, Dave. What if you knew, what if you could get really real with all of it and look at your entire day that repeats itself over and over and all the things encompassed potentially within your entire day and get everything dropped into this grid and get really clear on which ones were below the line, which ones were above the line. And then you said to yourself, okay, what I want to do is I want to hire somebody or partner with somebody that will take all of the below the line activities out of my day. I'm going to stop doing them. So computer program, reading instructions, putting the toys together on Christmas morning in this example. I'm going to stop doing them, and I'm going to give them to somebody who I've done a thorough vetting job of and put them through the same process. And it just so happens that those activities that are below the line for me are above the line for them because of who they are in the world, because they like putting puzzles together. They like reading instructions. That kind of is their genius. And see, this is the process with which we teach the loan originators that we coach on how to build their team. So before you go out and hire your personal assistant or your transaction coordinator or your processor, what if you were looking at it through this lens of taking an inventory of the things that you're doing that are below the line, no longer choosing to opt into those things, no longer saying hell yes to those hell no's, and finding somebody where those activities happen to be hell yeses for them. Now you've started to build a team of experts. Now you've started to build a team that is truly supportive, where everyone is working above the line. Everybody's either in their excellence box or in their genius box. That's when the magic really starts to happen, and that's where we're trying to take the people that we coach to that place. So when we move over to the bottom left-hand box, Dave, we have the zone of competence. So this might seem to be a surprise to some people, but like giving a presentation like I did at Stephen Marshall's event in June, that is a competence box activity for me. It is below the line. People would shake their head and say, God, you know, I would think it was at least excellence and maybe even genius. You're a good speaker. No, that's the seductive part. Yes, when I'm done, people thank me and they say, you know, you really did a great job of teaching me, and I really appreciate that. But what people don't know is how I feel inside when I'm doing it, and all of the hard work and detail that I put into preparing for it before I actually got up on stage, the 2-3 weeks, and what the experience was like for me. And see, that's the key thing that I want everybody to start cluing into. It's like, what is the experience that you're wanting to have? And when I say what is the experience that you're wanting to have, I mean all of it. That's what time management is. Like, what is the experience that I'm wanting to have? Is this it? See, what I'm doing right now, I'm in it. I'm above the line right now in this moment. But I didn't prepare this presentation. I'm teaching from my heart, and I'm teaching ad lib of something that I know because I teach it all the time. Very different from writing a presentation, building a PowerPoint, having a boxed-in period of time of 30 minutes and delivering it. That's not a joyful experience for me, and it's below the line. And where it's seductive, and why I use this example, is you get thanked for it, like I said, and you keep coming back and doing it over and over. And then you're wondering, why am I so unhappy? Why do I feel so drained when I'm done? It's a very, very different experience. Taking loan applications was another competence box activity. I used to be the king of the 2-hour loan application. I was phenomenal at it, or at least I thought I was. I'd bond with the client, etc. But when I was done, I'd be wiped out. I'd get home at 7:45 at night, and I would be totally drained. And then I realized this isn't actually the experience that I'm looking to have. Planning and executing details. Another one, Dave, that would probably surprise you. Like, I know that you can think back 10 years ago to the business planning events and how thoroughly detailed and planned out they were. And I was really responsible for that detail. And having attention to detail is a strength of mine, but being responsible for executing it actually is a very below the line activity for me. And I've gotten really clear on the subtlety of that. Like, thinking through what the detail needs to be is one thing. Being responsible for executing it, now I drop way below the line and I'm not having the experience that I want to have. Top left-hand box, designing retreats. That's where my attention to detail is a strength, but it's the design of them, not the execution of them, that I want to be making sure that I'm engaged in. Q&A and unplanned presenting, like I'm doing right now. And Dave, I've offered you, every time we do a conference call, I say, hey, I'll hang out longer and do Q&A. Why is that? Because I love it. It's like there's no part of that that's work for me. I love doing it. So I ask you that are listening, like, what are the things as I'm going through this that kind of fit into this mold for you, where time.
Hey, Jacob, I lost Tim. I'm going to assume that no one can hear Tim right now. Jacob, if you could chat, if I'm right about that. So while we're waiting for Tim to get back on the call and jump back in here, I want everybody to right now write down and share what are the activities that are in your genius zone. So when you think of yourself as a mortgage coach, as a mortgage professional, what are the things that are your genius zone? I know personally, as I've been taking some notes here, I'm kind of like Tim. When I'm giving a planned presentation, I think I'm good at it. I know a lot of people that are a whole lot better than me. But when it comes to just ad-libbing it, like I'm doing right now, this is what I love, and I do feel whether I'm good at it or not, I'll let you guys decide that. But it is when it gives me the most energy. I have the most fun. All right, Tim.
Sorry.
That's okay. Hey, let me finish a thought real quick. So folks, in questions or in chat, what you're a mortgage coach for a living. You're either building relationships with realtors and referral partners, or for a living, you're counseling with families to either refinance their home or buy their home. So what are the things that you're doing that put you in your genius zone? Please share those, and Tim, pick it up.
Cool, thank you. So wrapping it up, when we move over to the genius box, for me, these are my genius items, teaching from my heart. That is, and that's why, this call and doing Q&A and hosting retreats in particular, I mean, that is when I'm really dropped into it, because I'm live, I'm one-on-one, we're in a beautiful place. I can really, really be present and be in my genius, and time goes by. I mean, like at the end of we work for like 10 hours a day on retreat, and at the end of a 10-hour day, it feels like, wow, that went by fast. So I know that I'm in it because of that time element, and I feel totally alive. I don't feel tired. I don't feel like I need to go to bed early, none of that. Creating experiences for people. That is another thing that I think is in my genius, and I get a lot of enjoyment out of, just whether it be a backyard barbecue and having people over, or doing an amazing retreat, or hosting a seminar, or taking care of my loan clients back in the day when I was a loan officer, and thinking through, like, how do we create an experience for them that's unlike anything else they've ever had before. And then, leading with enthusiasm. I'm obviously a passionate person. I'm sure you can pick up on that energy even in this call. Figuring out how to really catalyze that, and how to really use it in a way that can really empower people and help people become more successful. Dave, go ahead and switch to the next slide, if you would, please. So the question that I posed to you is, what would life look like for you if you were consistently above the line? If more often than not, let's say, you're in your excellence box or your genius box. What if your day consisted of, say, 4 hours of time being spent up there? Like, how much more money would you make? What would your level of energy look like? How much healthier would you feel? How much less would you need to rely upon external substances such as caffeine and sugar and all of that to jack you up? What would your level of presence feel like, most importantly, perhaps, for both yourself and your family? What would it look like if you could just be yourself? Like, instead of having to put on this act, this costume every day of things that you think that you need to be doing, versus you just choosing into doing things consistently that you're meant to be doing, that are why you're on this planet. We're all unique. We're all different. None of us are exactly the same. Dave Savage's genius and excellence activities are very different than mine. If you were on the call 5 minutes before it started, you would have seen that right away. The whole technology thing, Dave, when you think about it, came up, like uploading the PowerPoint. You probably could even feel a little bit of my anxiety, because I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. And you're like, I'll do that. And you just like jumped right in. I mean, that's graceful and easy for you. You've always been, very curious in a very healthy and beautiful way about like technology and learning, and You know, it's like you and I are cracked and carved out of very different molds in that regard, and that's why everybody should be going through this process. Let's take a moment, if we can, to switch to the next slide. I want to share something with all of you that I'm really excited about. James Price, who was in this forum with Dave and myself about a year ago, who is a phenomenal coach and a friend and somebody who used to co-host Leadership 360 with me, although he just recently decided to devote 100% of his time, because it's in his genius to do so, into creating a company and a platform to help people with this exact subject matter. And so he is creating software, actually an app, that's a proprietary technology that will measure and help people get who they naturally are, get what their excellence and genius activities are, and through this technology it will track it for them on a daily basis and really let them know when they're on and off course. There's also a component of coaching to it, as I understand it, when it does get launched. It's going to be launched early next year, and I asked him if he'd do me a favor and allow me to offer it to those on this call to be kind of early adopters. So if you're interested in being an early adopter to this platform that helps you uncover your genius and stay in it, just go to www.genius.zone, not .com, okay, so www.genius.zone, and there'll be a landing page there. You'll just give them just a little bit of information, and then when they go into pre-launch in the fourth quarter of this year, you'll be notified, and then you'll have an opportunity, if you'd like to kind of test it out and check it out. Skip to the next slide, Dave, if you would, and then we'll wrap it up, and then if there's any questions that you have, we can go over them. So Leadership 360, you've heard me mention it several times. It's, for those of you that aren't familiar, it's my one-year coaching program. We take a small group of loan originators from all over the country, owners, branch managers, loan originators, a combination of, depending upon who applies. The current group, Leadership 362, had 10 people in it. L361 had 6. This next one will have 8. We have 1 spot open, okay, and it's coming up very fast. In fact, the 2-hour orientation call where the coaches, myself and the other coaches, and in the group of 8 convene for the first time in a 2-hour conference call will be on October 1st, so it's 2 weeks away. The retreat in Costa Rica is in early November, November 8th through the 15th, and then we're together for an entire year. As I've said before, you know, this is your board of directors. I mean, imagine what it would look like if you spent a week in Costa Rica with myself, 2 other coaches, 7 other loan originators that are high profile. To give you an idea, and you don't have to be a high profile originator. You don't even have to be a superstar to be in this group. I mean, so don't count yourself out if it's of interest to you. To give you an idea, Mike Metz has done it twice. John Weller is signed up for Leadership 363, and he's currently in Leadership 362. I mean, he felt that he got so much value out of the last 12 months that he's decided to sign up again. So he's in the next group as well. We've got a phenomenal group of 7 originators that are signed up and committed and have accepted the invitations. Spend a week together in Costa Rica. We build a 3 to 5 year business and life plan. And then over the course of the next 12 months, we reconvene 2 more times here in Los Angeles for 2 3-day retreats at my house here in LA. And we have private one-on-one coaching every month via conference call. We have group masterminding as a group every month. And the next 12 months after you get back from Costa Rica are all about supporting you on the successful implementation of your business and life plan. Consider this to be your board of directors. I mean, the accountability alone is worth every penny, just to have people supporting you and people that you have to report to. If you're interested, if you could skip, Dave, to the next slide. And you'd have to act quickly because, again, there's a whole interview process that myself and Julie Wykes, who's one of the executive coaches, we do a series of interviews. If you're interested, you'd either want to email me or call me. Here's the phone number of the office, 805-498-0294, or you can email me directly at tbraheem, T-B-R-A-H-E-E-M, @gmail.com. And Craig Strent, who some of you may know is in the next group, Steve Grossman, Brent Hicks, Mike Trejo, John Weller, Doug Sullivan, and John Price. 5 of those people do over 20 loans a month, 5 of the 7 that are in. So it's a pretty high caliber, high powered group of originators. Again, 1 spot left. So if you'd like to apply, reach out to us today. We'll get you an application. We'll send you information on the program, and we'll set up your interview with me. We'll see if it's a good fit for both of us. Dave, I think we've got a good 5 minutes extra, so I'm going to toss it over to you because I know that I did a lot of talking, and thanks for letting me roll. And are there any questions or feedback that you have? And I'm happy to take questions from your listeners as well.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm going to have Jeremy Forcier joining us in a minute, and hopefully, Jeremy, when you jump on this call, you'll let me know. So I did add in chat Tim's phone number. So if you missed it when I move off the screen, I have added it to chat. We are going to be launching and telling you guys all about a new app in just a few minutes. As you all know, the Mortgage Coach app has been out for over a year. It's been downloaded, more times than I would know. Hundreds of thousands of borrowers go through this experience, and we're now launching a new app called RateWatch. I would love it if you have not downloaded it. You can go to your iPhone or your Android and just put in RateWatch and download it. So let's do a couple questions before Jeremy comes on and we get into that, but I did want to give everybody a chance to download it right now. So Tim, there was really 2 questions, and let's try to net each one out in 2 minutes. But I saw commonalities around this one. So what if I'm a professional salesperson, aka mortgage coach loan officer, and in prospecting is just not in my genius zone. It's when I think of it not being in my genius zone, that's not in it. What do I do when that's what I do for a living?
Great question. So what you're asking is, if I hear you correctly, what if you're a loan originator for a living and you go through this process and you come to the conclusion that it's not in your genius zone to be a loan officer and that there's something else that is, right?
Well, I mean, I think that's overdoing it a bit because I really think it's about selling. But however you want to, I asked it, you answer it however you want to answer it.
Well, I mean, I think that let me say this. I think that selling is a huge component of being a loan originator. I mean, if you are not a good salesperson, or if you don't feel comfortable selling and it's not graceful for you, you're going to struggle. Okay, so the first thing that we would do is we would take a look at what are the reasons, what are the beliefs that are being held in your consciousness that are inhibiting you from wanting to sell. And first we try to see if there's an ability to just remove some of those stories and those beliefs and those things that you're fearful of. If it becomes clear, and it has, frankly, Dave, on 2 occasions, if it becomes clear that, I'll give you an example, perfect example. I've got an originator in L362. I'm not going to name him by name, but the reality of it is that when he started, he went from being an in-house lender to leaving that company and going out on his own. And he has been struggling all year being on his own. And one of the things that the process has vetted out for us and made very clear is that he is much better in an environment where he can safely connect with real estate agents. He's perfect as an in-house lender. That is his wheelhouse. He's way better at it than I would ever be. He's patient. He's kind. He's a great connector. He's going to answer and field a bunch of questions and not be in a hurry. And when he went out on his own, he actually put himself into an environment that is not his genius. And the things that are required to being a successful originator as a non-in-house lender are below the line for him. And the process vetted that out for us and made that very clear. So he is now going back into being an in-house lender because it's very clear that that's where he should be. Is that a good example of the question that you asked?
Well, that's a good example. I also love the way one person answered it, Joseph Sanchez. He really defines himself as a teacher. And so by, not as a salesperson, I'm a teacher and I love to teach. And so, I like the way you started it. You got to really get to your beliefs and you got to figure out how to align those beliefs around an activity that defines your success.
Dave, let me give you another quick example because this one will really hit home. Another person in L361. Okay, very high-end, successful loan originator. Extremely tactical, great educator, wildly analytical, extremely introverted. We convert out of a refi market where he did over 700 loans last year, and he's struggling in a purchase market because he's being forced to do something that is way below the line for him, which is to go out and try to solicit and connect from real estate agents. So what we had to do is get really real on who he naturally is and build his business strategy entirely around supporting who he is rather than trying to make him somebody who he isn't. And now he has an entirely different platform, and he's back to doing 40 loans a month in a purchase market, but he's going about it in a very unique and very different way than everybody else is, and it's totally supportive of his genius.
So we're going to do one more question, because Jeremy's not here yet, but I really want you to let me know whether you have downloaded this app.
I'm here, just so you know, but I am learning this stuff.
All right. So, hey, Jeremy, I still want to do this last question because I only really need about 10 minutes for mortgage code for the new app. But please, I do want to take down the poll question. So let me know, have you downloaded the app? While Tim is answering this next question, let us know. Let's get to 70% so I can get back into the teaching. So Tim, here's the last question, and then we're going to roll with some Rate Watch conversation. If I'm not successful enough, I haven't closed enough loans to where I can afford an assistant or someone to, offset, my pure focus on Genius Zone. What advice, do you give to those folks that, they're under the bar in terms of their activity? They want to get above the bar, but they just can't afford to get an assistant.
Might it be, my answer is this, might it be the very challenge that you're presenting is what's inhibiting you from being able to be as successful as you are? I find that loan originators oftentimes need proof and a yield on the investment before they're willing to make the investment. And my response is that you've already answered your own question, and I'm not trying to be a smart aleck when I say it. I compassionately respond by saying that it's the very fact that you're continually doing things that an assistant should be doing that's causing you to not be able to afford the assistant in the first place. So some portion of this does require some faith, does require some confidence. And I don't think that the question is an ignorant question. It's a very, very intelligent question, because it's hard to see, to have enough data and to have enough proof that creates the comfort and confidence to move into that space of saying no to your hell no's and giving them to somebody else. But what I'm saying is that if you go through a process similar to the one that we've designed, and I would say be an early adopter to James's program, because that might be very helpful to you in that regard, I think that it becomes very obvious, like, God, yeah, if I were just doing those things, like, my life would be really killer. I mean, like, it would be fun, and I'm good at that stuff. Like, yeah, for sure I'd make more money, and for sure I could afford the assistant. And that will be much more powerful for you to have that transformational realization, to then take the plunge and maybe start with somebody that's part-time at 20 hours a week, so you can start carving some of those things off your plate that you're currently doing.
Love it. So guys, great advice. This is being recorded, and you can check it out in the YouTube channel today. Make sure you connect with that. I want to transition, and Tim, feel free to dogpile. I invited Jeremy Forcier, a top producer out of Northern California, to today's call. Jeremy and I got to spend a lot of great time together at Sales Mastery last week, and I think he was one of the very first mortgage coaches to download this new app, and he was the very first. Jeremy, you were the very first mortgage coach to take it and blast it out into the wild of social media. That was really cool how you did a screen capture and pushed it out into Instagram. So Jeremy, as we launch this new innovation to mortgage coach community, I've got it up on my screen. I'm kind of demoing it. I know you can't see it because you're out and about, but if you could really quick share with the mortgage coach community, so far it's been a few days that you've had it downloaded. What do you like about it, and how does this new app drive value for you?
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. Hi, Tim.
Hey, what's up, brother?
Not much, brother. Berta Vida. So,
Nice.
as far as the app goes, it's just incredible. So what do I like about it? I like that it's on my phone. I like that I can click on it with my thumb and see exactly what the market's doing. And I love that I can take a picture of it with my phone and send it to clients. And Dave, that's been my early adoption of it so far, just in having it the last 5 days. Is that when people are asking about interest rate updates and I'm on the road a lot, I can literally click on it and send it in an email, in a photo, to a borrower with a little note that says, hey, you want to know what's going on with interest rates? Check out, this chart. Red is bad, green is good. We're up 0.25% over the last 2 weeks. Blah 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 blah. So it gives me great interaction with my clients and something that they can see. What I love the most about it, though, is that I do a lot of Mortgage Coach Edge spreadsheets and video presentations. And whenever someone watches my video presentation, I get a notification that says that they watched it, and it pushes over my phone. So think of like Facebook, when a friend comments on something that you post, and you get a little pop-up that says, Dave Savage just commented on, your post. You can literally click on that notification link and call the person. So you can be driving, you can be walking, you can be in a doctor's office, you can be anywhere and have real-time access. And here's what the conversation sounds like with a borrower that I just had yesterday. Did a video presentation for them in Edge, sent it out to them, as well as with a screen capture of the app, explaining why I think that they should lock in the term today. I then got a notification 15 minutes later that they had viewed that presentation. Well, I was in the car driving, so I just clicked on the link that said that they had viewed it, call my customer, and it sounds like this. Hey, John, I just wanted to follow up with you. I sent you a video spreadsheet with a presentation, about 25 minutes ago. Take a look at it when you have a chance and let me know what you think as far as the options are concerned moving forward. What did John say? John went, dude, that's so weird. I was watching it like 5 seconds ago. And what did I say? Whoa, that is crazy. What a coincidence. So what did you think? Did you like option 1 or option 2? It gave me ability to sell in real time. And I think that's something that we all struggle with right now with technology. And, like my appointments from loan app standpoint and customers has gone from, 60% in person over the last 5 years to less than 10% in the last 18 months. I'm just not meeting with people in person anymore. So we have to utilize the technologies for speed and to create an informal kind of almost like an alternate reality of a face-to-face meeting and be able to communicate in real time. So that's my favorite 2 things about the app so far. It's easy to share. It's easy to read. It's easy to explain. Yesterday, Dave, on your wall, you posted a screenshot of it, and you tagged me in it. Well, I had one of my customers, Danielle Harnish, comment on it because I was tagged in it. And what was her comment? Her comment was, rates look really low, laugh out loud, because I just closed her a week ago. And I had the opportunity to go in there and educate her and anyone else that was reading it and say, hey, Danielle, tag her again. Actually, when those bars are really low on the charts, rates are higher. They're actually up 0.25% over the last 2 weeks. So you got a great deal. And she commented back on it, oh, awesome, good to know. So not only can you act in real time, but you can use it as an educational piece and get people in your sphere and your community paying attention to things that they normally would not.
So to turn this into a training for everybody who has downloaded this app, pull it out, open it, whether it's Android, whether it's iOS, and now you have interest rates trending. And if you click on that parameters tab in the upper right-hand corner, you can do it by the week, 10 days, a month, different time frames. You can click and go to the day watch. Just click on the menu bar in the upper left-hand corner. We designed this so that it's attractive to women, it's attractive to millennials. When you look at so many ways that graphs and charts are presented in just the world, they're designed to be attractive to CPAs, economists, nerdy people. We designed this to be attractive to women, to millennials. I knew we hit a bullseye when we were in the development process, and I showed it to my sophomore daughter, and she's like, Dad, that's cool. She's like, you finally did something that's cool. You made numbers look cool. So we designed this for you guys so you could be smarter, you could deliver more value to every home buyer, every borrower, every realtor you touch. You can not only say smart things, you have a visual image in your back pocket. And to Jeremy's point, the app alerts actually show up in your in message. This is not an email. This is not a text. This is something that shows up in your app. And within 2 clicks, speed to lead. You are talking to the customer when they are in your experience. So mortgage coaches, you have a new value proposition. You have a new tool to be smart, to be successful, to be the expert with your borrowers and clients. Also, the commentary, where every day we're pushing some updates on the market that we think are critical. And Dan Robich's video, you can watch that video within the app. So, within 2 minutes a day, you can be smart around what's happening with the market. And if that wasn't enough value for guys, we give you, a pulse check on the market by clicking on the lenders tab, and you can actually see which lenders have made midday rate changes. So this app is awesome. To put it into action in the market, I think of, well, there's many ways to do it. I love the way Jeremy is taking a screen share of it. We will be adding shareable functionality to the tool. But here's another great strategy. Here's an average open house. And remember, a lot of people are going to open houses now. They were driven there by Redfin, Trulia, Zillow. They were driven there by an app, and they get an old school experience. Now with Mortgage Coach, if you're using the Mortgage Coach app, you can have mortgage options on a mobile device, and now you can have interest rates on a mobile device. So literally laying there in the open house, you can train your realtors whether they want to show mortgage options or they want to show rates to help start the conversation, to help educate borrowers. They have a new way to deliver value in open houses. So hopefully this is valuable. This is a brand new release. We have not even sent out an email to the entire market yet. We announced it from the stage of Sales Mastery last Thursday. Now you, a select group of mortgage coaches, are hearing about it. And in the weeks to come, we're going to blast this thing out to the entire industry. But what we would love now is we would just love to learn from you guys. How are you using it? How are you giving value? How are you using this to be an expert? Jeremy, really appreciate you jumping on the call. Any other scripting or any other thoughts or ideas? We've got a couple more minutes until oh, by the way, let's give Tim a shout. Tim, anything come to your mind when you see this new Mortgage Coach innovation?
Well, thanks. First of all, Jeremy, great job, man. That was really cool to hear you describe how you're using it in such a creative way. The first thought that popped to my mind was when Jeremy was talking about, hitting the person with, a screenshot of it off of his phone. I thought, well, could he not accompany that with an audio file that, he could just sit there and dictate into his phone, explaining the chart and doing a little selling. So when the person's looking at the chart, they can listen to it. And then I realized that when you listen to an audio file on your iPhone, you can't click out of it and have it continue to play. But maybe you guys could figure out some way to do that, because to me, if I were an originator, what I would want to do is if I'm out on the road, I get a market update. I've got 3 people that are not locked that I want to push off the edge. I want to send them the screenshot, like Jeremy said, and record one message and say, okay, here's what you're looking at here. And as he described with the woman, thinking if it's up, that means rates are going up versus it being the inverse, et cetera. So just a thought that if there's any way you can accompany an audio file, and maybe there is, I'm not a techie guy, that would be kind of a cool feature.
Love the ideas, and we want to hear from everybody. How are you using it? What are you doing? And obviously, how can we get better? So, Tim, thank you for that. That's a good suggestion. Jeremy, any thoughts before we wrap up today's call?
No, I'm really looking forward to the call that we're putting together on scripting and how to use these conversations with people. I have literally dozens upon dozens upon dozens of scripts. I really believe in them, and I think that if you can play with this app a little bit and learn how to talk about it intelligently from an educational standpoint, you're just going to kill it. I mean, you're just going to have the ability to really crush it and separate yourself. And remember, at the end of the day, this app is a selling tool, and there's a lot of different ways to use it. So if you want to show someone to lock today and because the 10-day average, it shows that we've had a big rebound, use that view. If you want to use a 30-day or a 3-month average on the app and get someone to move forward with you and commit to show that rates are in a place where we could lose even more ground, use that view. If none of those views work and supports what you're trying to do, use the 1-day view. Show people how volatile it is in real life in 1 day of trading and why it never makes sense to float a loan. In my opinion, I don't float loans. That's something I learned from Tim Braheem in, I don't even know when. Tim, like in 2006 or something, on a call that you did. Don't float loans. Get people to commit to something that works for them and educate them on why it's important to not gamble with your money. And I love that I have the opportunity to use an awesome app and technology now that can create those selling conversations, because people hate to be sold, but they love to buy. So if you can create a buying environment for your clients, for your prospects, for your realtors, you're going to have a much higher conversion ratio, and that's exactly what this app does.
Hey, Dave, so, 20-second piggyback off that, can I?
Go.
The reason, thanks, Jeremy, for that reference to a long time ago. You made me feel old. But the reason that you don't want to float, the natural tendency is to think, well, if I lock, then if the market improves, they're going to double at me and go somewhere else. It doesn't work like that. 90% of the time, it works exactly the opposite. If you float, then they're going to continue to shop. If you lock, they put that to bed and they start to think about furniture and moving vans and all that kind of stuff. Lock. Don't spend all your time every day having to watch the market and try to figure out who you're going to lock today and who you're not going to lock. Lock, put closure to the issue in the client's mind, and properly script it to let them know that you're making a commitment to the bank and the bank's making a commitment to you. And I found that when I did that, boy, I tell you, it really got rid of the rate shoppers by just getting them committed and closed mentally.
Well, I can't wait for the scripts from Jeremy. If you have a specific script that you'd like Jeremy to share, we're building a list right now. We'll probably post something on Facebook to collect even more ideas, but feel free to share those in the question section of GoToMeeting right now. I'll keep it open, but I love the scripting we already shared. I want to remind everybody, not only do we have next week a coaching call at 9 o'clock Pacific, but we have a compliance clinic with Mitch Kiter, one of the industry's top compliance attorneys. There'll be CEOs on the call, there'll be branch managers, there'll be loan officers, and we're going to be answering questions around sales and marketing and compliance. Things around desk rental and MSAs, things around how can we co-market with realtors. So things that are relevant to loan officers. Loan officers, what's the company's, problem? What's your problem? So don't miss this call, and make sure your leadership team is aware of this. I want to get as many leaders on this call and as many loan officers so we can bring leadership around sales and marketing compliance. I believe that good loan officers turn compliance into a competitive advantage. So don't miss that call. I want to remind you this call is recorded. Again, you can watch it from your mobile device. This is a great example of a great leader, Sean, with RPM. He's watching a coaching call from his mobile device. We make that easy for you. So guys, be a mortgage coach. Tim Braheem, really grateful for your teaching, for the time you spent. Jeremy, thank you for jumping in while you're on the road in between meetings. And everybody, be a mortgage coach, be an expert. Take care, everybody, and have a fantastic week. And we'll see you next Tuesday. Don't forget about our Thursday call to go deep into the details of our products and solutions. Take care, everybody. Yep. Let us know what you thought of this call as a last thought. Answer the poll question as you exit, and take care, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.